overthinking. Man, that word is everywhere, right? You see it on social media, in memes, everywhere you look. But what does it really, truly mean to be stuck in that nonstop mental spin cycle? Well, today we're going to get to the bottom of it. We're diving into the work of Dr. Donald Francis to figure out how to finally quiet the noise.
So, let me ask you this. Does that question hit close to home? That feeling of being trapped in a whirlwind? Like your mind is just a runaway train and you're along for the ride? If you've ever felt that way, you are so not alone. It's like being a captive in your own head. But today, we're going to look for the emergency brake.
All right, so what's the official definition here? Overthinking is a lot more than just your garden variety worrying. It's really a perfect storm of three things. First, you're just relentlessly focused on one issue. Second, you literally can't look away from it. And third, because of those two things, making even the simplest decision feels completely impossible.
And that combination right there, that is what creates the overthinking trap. So let's talk about what that really looks like, how this vicious cycle can pull you in and just keep you stuck.
This is where we get into something called decision paralysis. You know, when you analyze something so much that even a tiny choice like what to have for dinner feels like this huge, monumental task. And that inability to just act creates this feeling of hopelessness, which, you guessed it, just feeds the overthinking even more. It is the perfect trap.
Okay, but what is physically happening inside our brains when we're stuck in this loop? To get that, we need to look at the biology of it all, the literal battle that's going on in your head.
So, think of your brain as having two key networks that are supposed to work together, kind of like a tag team. On one side, you've got the daydreamer network. The technical term is the default mode network, or DMN. This is your creative, self-reflective side. It's what kicks in when you're just chilling out. And then you have its partner, the decision maker, or the executive control network. This is like the CEO of your brain. It handles focus, planning, actually getting stuff done.
Now here is the absolute key to all of this. These two networks cannot be running at full blast at the same time. They're designed to take turns. When the decision maker is on, the daydreamer is supposed to be quiet. Overthinking is basically what happens when that system glitches out. When your daydreamer network crashes the party and just refuses to leave.
And this quote right here, this is exactly what that inner battle feels like. You're trying so hard to focus, but your mind is just getting flooded with these invading thoughts. That's not a failure of willpower. That is literally your daydreamer network hijacking your ability to concentrate.
So it turns out not all overthinking is created equal. To really get a handle on it, we have to decode our own unique thought patterns. Understanding what kind of thinking you're doing is just as important as knowing why you're doing it.
Dr. Francis gives us this really helpful hierarchy. It all starts with just normal, manageable thoughts. But from there, things can escalate. Maybe you have preoccupations, those classic anxious what-if spirals. Or maybe it's ruminations, where you're just stuck replaying the past, which is often linked with depression. And from there, it can even intensify to obsessions or delusional thinking. Just take a look at this for a second. See if you recognize where your own thought patterns tend to fall.
And it's not just about the type of thought, it's also about the tempo, the speed. Racing thoughts are like a waterfall, just as fast, uncontrollable cascade. Crowded thoughts, on the other hand, are different. They're more like being in a room where 100 people are shouting at you all at once. It's just pure mental noise, and it's impossible to hear anything clear.
Okay, so we've defined the problem, we've looked inside the brain, we've decoded the patterns. Now for the good part. How do we actually fix it? Let's get into some practical strategies for breaking that loop and finding a little bit of clarity.
Before we even think about complex techniques, we have to start with the foundation, the basics. These are the absolute non-negotiables. Getting good sleep literally helps reset your brain. Managing your stress helps calm that inner emotional storm. And getting some regular physical activity can help regulate the brain chemistry that gives your decision-maker network the power it needs to take back control.
So what happens when that foundational self-care just isn't cutting it? Well, there's a more targeted approach. Step 1, really dissect your thought patterns. Are you dealing with worries, ruminations, obsessions? Step 2, address anything else that's making it worse, like not getting enough sleep. And then, step 3, you can tailor the treatment. You find the right tool for the right job. For example, cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is an incredibly powerful tool for rewriting those anxious thought loops.
And hey, here are a few practical things you can literally start doing today. Journaling is so powerful because it gets the chaos out of your head and onto the page. Mindfulness. That's not about stopping your thoughts, but more about learning to just watch them go by.
like clouds in the sky. And simple things like a creative hobby or just setting one small intention for your day can give your mind a positive, focused task right from the get-go. All right, let's bring all of this home. Let's talk about how to take all this information and start forging your own path forward, right out of that mental clutter. This is probably my favorite way to reframe this whole thing. What if overthinking isn't some deep character flaw? What if it's not a failure? What if it's just a signal? It's your brain's way of sending up a flare, telling you something is out of balance and inviting you to listen, to understand, and to start to heal.
At the end of the day, just recognizing that inner struggle, that's the first and maybe the most important step of all. Just acknowledging that battle between your focused mind and your wandering emotional thoughts is what lets you start carving a path out of the chaos and toward a little more clarity. And I promise you, that journey is absolutely possible.
So I'll leave you with this one last question. After everything we've talked about, what is one single thought, one worry, one rumination, one what if that you are ready to let go of starting right now?